Bonjour à tous, bienvenue à cette conférence midi. Au fait, nous avons aujourd'hui l'honneur de recevoir, n'est-ce pas, des spécialistes de l'art visuel, des gens qui vont nous parler de l'intelligence artificielle et puis de la transformation dans le contexte, n'est-ce pas, de l'objectif de développement durable 8, donc sur le travail décent. Alors, la conférence sera bilingue, donc principalement en anglais, donc la plupart des panélistes sont anglophones. Et je laisse la parole, n'est-ce pas, à Melissa White, qui va faire la modération de cette conférence midi et vous prie d'être attentif pour suivre, n'est-ce pas, le contenu de cette conférence. Merci, Melissa, vous avez la parole.
So, hi again. Thank you for the presentation, the introduction, and everything. We are going to start. So, as you know, or you might know, today we are going to talk about visual art, AI, and modern day conception. We are going to focus mainly on innovation and artists' rights, especially nowadays. And we are going to also to use the kind of framework offered by the SDG 8 on decent work, especially for this topic. So, what is the problem? Technically, we are firstly going to start by specializing a bit, like moving from the macro vision to the micro, like micro vision, with a bit of contextualization. We're going to define also what we are going to talk about and just problematize, I would say, like add a question to just organize the whole discussion in itself. Then we are going to move to the panel. We are going to, I call it like words in motion, just talk like link a bit of what we mentioned part. And link that to experiences, to actually just concrete things in this case. We have also like the thoughts of here our panelists. And then we're going to finish with the conclusion of everything and open the whole discussion to questions. So here to start, I'm going to present the context, then we are going to move to the legal key points, like just explain exactly what we are going to talk about, like on the domestic level, like on national law, like what are the artists' rights, but also like talk about like what we have in international law, like what's going on, what the protections are as well. And from this, we're going to like just add the problematic to that. So the context and the history of innovation cycle. So like I said before, innovation is kind of the big aspect of the situation today. And to understand exactly what's going on, it's important to actually understand what history like kind of teach us. And in this case, like we had different kind of waves of innovation in history. It all started actually with industrial revolution, and especially with the mechanization. Like we can talk about steam power. Like we have all this kind of time where it's actually started in the UK, and we still have also all the story about like you probably heard about Oliver Twist and how it was back then. And and then we actually have after that it's okay, it's going to come back. And then we have also after that the industrial revolution, but with more like the electrification aspect. So we here like moving to a little bit of an improvement of what has already been happening. Then after we all have like the automation, electronics, and the cyber physical system network digitalization that we know nowadays. But in more kind of, if we go into it like with more precision, here you can see a little bit of like the improvement of the technological improvement that have been made in history, and also the time that it was like kind of made. And I think taking into account the time scale is here important because it's actually like when we talk about society and the way society absorbs innovation, we here also talking about like the way people conceive work, conceive also the relationship between private life, work, balance, society, and the whole kind of, I would say, just way of life that is actually being just constructed, built, or influenced by innovation in general. And this passed also by the way we consume as a society, as an individual, and just the world market in itself. So, like I said, you can just visualize a bit the time scale and also see the thing that with more like modernity or the recent technological advancements, like this time scale kind of has been reduced. So, which means that it kind of let less and less time for either institution, government, businesses, enterprises to actually have the time to react or to actually build the frameworks, the whatever kind of protection for the workers or understanding also of what's going on and just like having a sort of protection in terms of workers' rights, here artists' rights, and therefore just having the like a good reaction, if I can say good, I don't think it's the right word, but it's the idea in itself. So we have different writers and economists and philosophers who actually try to put words into the phenomenon. And here we have Nikolai Kondratiev. I'm not sure that I'm actually pronouncing it really well. I'm not sure that I'm actually pronouncing it really well. But yes, the idea of Kondratiev is what he tried to do is actually like trying to put steps into this time frame. So here you can see like just on the little scheme or drawing, you can say like that, the different steps that he actually try to just, symbolize. So we have like the prosperity, depression, recession, improvement. And it's always like a sort of cycle that is just ongoing until like this innovation is kind of absorbed by the society, or it's just like until there's another or new innovation that is actually coming into the system, the game, you can use whatever expression for it. But for this new kind, like how to explain this innovation kind of crisis, we have Joseph Schumpeter, like is another like theoretician, I would say, who actually wrote about it and called it the creative destruction, which means like if you have, for example, an innovation that actually enters the system or just like a society and everything, it kind of comes to like, well, calls it destruction, but it just like reframe the whole organization, like the whole way the society was being organized, or just like, the way people, the workers, the businesses, the government and stuff were just like making the market going, I would say. So yeah, this is like an important term. It's actually also, I think it's well said, it's kind of poetic in a way, but it's, yeah, I like the term. But then we are going to just like a bit specify about the actuality now, because we went into like a bit of history to see what exactly happened before, or not exactly, but just have a sort of like big picture of what happened. And in the recent actuality, now we have AI. So AI is an innovation in itself. And the thing about like AI, just like we move from having tools to actually, do whatever physical things, but now we actually inventing tools that can think, tools that can imagine, that can potentially create. So it kind of comes like in society with a sort of, question about like what is the place of human beings in the world dynamic now? What kind of society are we going to visualize for the future? What will be actually, what will be the place of AI just compared to the human being, but also to those who actually create, to those who actually think, to those who, to all this industry as well that is, have been there and just, maintaining those activities. So I chose like a specific case, the case of Aiken, to just like kind of, illustrate a bit of the phenomenon, I would say. So here we have like an interview of like the Montreal International Center for Contemporary Art. The interview was actually published in 2020. And in this one, like we have like the creator of Aiken who just kind of explain or like here, most importantly, we have especially the fact of what happened. So I'm just going to read quickly like this little passage. So in 2029, Aiken signs the exhibition Faces Portrait Transcending Time at the HG Contemporary Gallery in Chelsea, major venue of New York's contemporary art. In 2018, Aiken's work was shown at Scope Miami Beach, the Art Plus in Frankfurt, in New York Tech Week, and in 2017, as Aiken made its debut in New York, RC declared the event the biggest artistic achievement of the year. Shortly thereafter, Aiken's work, St. George Killing the Dragon, was purchased for $60,000. So the case of Aiken, so here is like more about like what the creator of Aiken is actually how he's defining the AI or the artist he actually created, if I can say. So in his saying, at the exhibitions, we heard one question time and again, who's the artist? The fact is, you see, Aiken is not human, it's an artificial intelligence, an algorithm, an equation, the fruit of many years of research and development. Aiken was created by Professor Albermo with the ultimate goal of pushing the limits of AI creative capabilities. What makes Aiken so unique is its autonomy. And unlike most of the AI used by artists, Aiken is not just a simple tool. It chooses its own themes, experiments, and learns without human intervention. His style is constantly evolving, increasingly favoring abstraction over figuration, much to the surprise of its creator. So here are other also articles that are actually like kind of also giving a bit of the public opinion on what's going on. So either we move from like a really like a bad reaction in terms of pessimism, or either we have some people that are like optimists and they're like, wow, this is amazing, like this is the future of our society and everything. The thing is, like, there is a question, like, what does it mean to create here? And where does creativity come from? How we arrive to actually, like, just make machine, like, our artificial intelligence able to create. And here, well, we have two little, let's say, like, opinions, I would say. But in the first one, what I have like believed is like it has been trained to generate original artworks by priming it with 100,000 samples from art history produced over the last 500 years. And in the other opinion that we have, it's more about the reaction of the public and especially the artistic, the creative community, especially with this kind of event or just, reality. We have Harry Woodgate, who actually says here that this program relies entirely on the theoretical intellectual property of countless working artists, photographers, illustrators, and other right holders. It's a point echoed by illustrator Anusha Sai, I would say. AI doesn't look at art and create its own. It samples everyone's, then mashes into something else. So technically, that's actually like the opinion of the description, I would say, of the mechanism. So from this, we are going to just like question the legal key points here and what are kind of the protection, what is already existing as well, and just like how is the framework adapting to just this new reality. So first of all, like we are going to mention international law. There's two things to actually distinguish here because it's like two systems kind of, existing together. So in the idea, like every nation, every citizen is actually like obey to the national law in terms that like it just mentioned here, like, the state has the power or has the monopolization of violence in a way. So everything that is like law enforcement, just, go with the states in a way. While international law is more about like a sort of horizontal kind of jurisdiction, which means that it's more about like, facilitating, like adding some normativity, and, like I say, facilitating a certain cohabitation between states and allowing a certain kind of, vision of what morality, what should be the universal rule that we might like we think are the core of morality. So like I say, it's two different systems here, but like they influence each other. And in the thing is that like national law in this kind of situation, especially when we talk about data and when we talk about like media law, copyrights, and everything that is like coming into that sector, we are moving into like the international domain in a way, because literally like all the multinationals, all the like those that have or consume, I don't know if it's the right word, but all data are most of the time in other countries. And like it kind of also, point the question of our national like jurisdiction kind of, ready to, how do they tackle this as a country, as a region as well? So literally there's different kind of question in terms of the scale of the protection we are talking about. But usually, like in the tradition, like artists has mostly two main rights, which is, first of all, intellectual property means copyrights, the right to reproduce the artwork. We have also the moral rights, which are definitely linked to intellectual property, but here it is more about the right to claim authorship, or just like protecting your creation from any kind of distortion or association that you don't, like the artist don't really know. In this case, we have also the exhibition right, but it's actually a particular case and just in Canada, but it's also a right where it's actually recognized here. So here is just like a quick article about also like, or maybe an opinion if I can say, about like the people opinions on AI and the way it actually, comes to a bit disrupt this whole concept of artist right creation and everything. And here, like what I just point is that AI undermine. They see AI undermining rights holder ability to consent to the use of the creative works and to receive due credits and compensation, which means that literally the artificial intelligence here just like coming, seeing what's going on in the internet, like literally observing the different content, observing the different like arts, matter and everything, and just like using it to recreate something new or to just mix it enough to actually obtain something that is like different from the original pieces, I would say. So there was like this big question about like saying if we can consider AI to be an author, an artist, like to actually have a sort of like legitimacy into like creation in itself. And there was actually some recent cases in the US. In Canada, it's actually still coming, but I'm going to explain it a little bit later. So here in this case, it's like we are talking about like the Creative Machine by Stephen Taylor. And in this case, literally, it was mostly about the copyright law and if it was like legal or like acceptable to consider AI as an author or as an artist here. So for a bit more precision of the facts, in a decision released on March 18, 2025, the United States Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia Circuit ruled that non-human machines cannot hold copyright over the works they create. The decision hinged on the fundamental principle of the U.S. Copyright Act of 1976, which establishes that only human beings can be recognized as the authors of their work. So that was the decision. But like in more precision, what was like kind of evaluated was like all the little nuances that were like necessary to actually establish if yes or no it was possible to do so. And I just like, there was just a list of the different nuances. So we had the question of ownership. If copyright is fundamentally a property right, granted to authors, and science machine cannot own property, cannot be considered an author under the law. We have also like the duration, the inheritance, the signature, the nationality, domicile, the intention, and also the fact that machines are considered as tools at the end of the day. So yeah, different things about have been made actually in Canada for this specific thing. The thing is like, as I said before, with the innovation aspect, like it takes time for state and government to actually react properly and build frameworks that can actually protect either like here the artist and especially like just also have the right terms or just having, you know, just the notion and concept to help judgment on the situations. So here there was like just a fact saying that in 2021 that the government of Canada conducted like a consultation on a modern copyright framework for artificial intelligence and the Internet of Things. So yeah, it's just like the different kind of questions that have been asked in this term, like text and data mining, authorship and ownership of works, and infringement and liability regarding AI. So we are the person liable when AI generated work infringe copyright protected work in this case. So here we come to international law in actually like the decent work in economic growth. The thing about like the SDG aid is that, well, either like it has vision of what the globally all the states want in terms of like decent work, economic growth, but it doesn't, it let it actually enough space to actually allow state to react in their own way, like in the domestic law kind of framework. The thing is that we talk about innovation. Innovation has been like the, maybe like in the last century, the thing that we've been seeing again and again, like, you know, in circles. And the thing is that we don't really, like states know what to do in a way to actually prevent it to be like, you know, have a sort of economic impact that is like huge or like just really kind of, you know, that can destabilize the whole state, country, or just the market in itself. But the thing is that there's a lot of kind of intuition of like, you know, it's like a reaction on the moment in a way. It's like the states are building, or just the government are building the law, the framework, the protection, as they see the problems coming. So it's just like, you know, it's there, but at the same time, there's like this kind of motion. It's not forcing the changes, it's more about reacting to it right now. But this is like here the different targets of like, you know, the goals, I would say, of the SDG 8. So sustainable economic growth, diversify, innovate, and upgrade for economic productivity, etc., etc. There's pretty a lot. So last thing, so we are just going to illustrate this with the example of Canada. So what has been made or what is actually planned to be made to actually try to, you know, protect the maximum of, you know, of what can be protected. The thing is here, before going to the specificality of like, you know, creativity and the different industry, for example, here art, like the government is mostly prioritizing like how AI and how this innovation in itself is actually controlled or just like framed in the state. And so for this, I would say there's like 4 priorities that they actually kind of manage. And this is like for a period of 2025 to 2027. So this is like a kind of, you know, a wheel to improve or just like making effort toward like the protection of the organization of this innovation wave, I would say. So yeah, the first priority is the central AI capacity. So a demand that was like made was like a common, you know, common theme heard from government departments during consultation was the need for a central hub to support project implementation and share knowledge. So, you know, key actions that have been like decided to, you know, to be in motion was like to establish an AI center of expertise, enable common infrastructure, and identify and develop lighthouse projects, which is here defined as like, you know, trying to, well, they say here the strategy proposed the development of a lighthouse project that would both meet an enterprise-wide need and provide an opportunity to develop and test Government of Canada governance and support process for AI adaptation. So it's more like about formally adopting AI into literally the institution. So here after that, it's like mostly about, you know, policy, legislation, and governance. So literally like having the term, the concept, putting the right word to define like a situation. And also like for the key action, like it's mostly about establishing common AI governance and risk management framework and address policy and legislative alignment, gaps and barriers, and adopting a think AI approach, which means like it's more like there's an open mind towards it, but it's not like a wheel to just like use AI everywhere. It's just like understanding it to actually more having like a control over it and just having a sort of appropriation of the innovation and move with it in the future. So priority 3, talent and training. So here, as a plan for increased AI adoption, it's more the question of the formation, like what kind of formation are actually like given to people? Is it like more sort of like solo journey through the innovation? You do your own thing at home, you form like yourself and that's it? Or is there actually like like an institution or just like program that forms people to actually just use AI, understand AI, and just also what it actually involves at at the scale of an individual, of a creator, of an entrepreneur, of a different scale, I would say. So here the key action was said to be like develop a training plan, benchmark talent needs, and develop a sort of talent plan. And then finally, priority 4, engagement, transparency, and value to Canadians. So here is more like about like I said before, the reaction toward AI were a bit like, I think like, virulent in the sense that it was new, it was big, it was like, a big thing just in a day. So all the pessimism and all the fear and all the the emotion that actually came with this sudden change, and the change that is actually like huge in terms of like society, but also as an individual. well, we can say that the reaction was not super optimistic, probably optimist for the people that were actually like making those things, like the AI and all the industries and stuff. Also people that were like, really happy to live in a sci-fi reality, so something like that. But in general, like it was mostly fear more than any kind of, super enthusiastic. Well, I would say, or at least this is what they say. So here, for the key action that they are planning to actually, take is like strengthen accountability and transparency on AI use, demonstrate impact and value to Canadians, and commit to engagement on AI. So yeah, so we're going to move to the problematic, but that was like the legal key point or the legal framework of what's going on right now, at least on the topic. So here, the question that we are going to ask, and also the question that's going to animate also the discussion and everything, is like, what is the place of the human visual artist in this AI revolution and online economy? And what will it be in the near future, or what can we imagine that it will be in a way? So we are going to start a panel, and to do so, I'm just going to present our panelists, and we are going to like let them see, because I've been speaking for a long time. Sorry. So yes, but we are going to miss a panelist actually. So we're just going to move like in order like what suggested, but I'm going to indicate like everything. So first of all, I'm going to introduce our panelists. So we're going to start with Jasmine. So Jasmine Kaur is a Montreal-based creative voice in fashion and image making. After graduating of the Dawson College Photography program, she developed a graphic signature where she treats fashion as a visual language, an opportunity to explore identity, culture, and storytelling through refined imagery. I'm going to probably present everyone, and then maybe one by one you're going to start talking. I think it's probably going to be for the best. So then after we are going to present Adriel. So Adriel Meka is a Canadian-American illustrator who graduated from the Savannah College of Art and Design, and from Monster High, Scare Tactics and Bubble Guppies. He has worked with companies such as Nickelodeon, Disney TV, Paw Productions, and Sony Animation, while directing the animated short film Kona and publishing his works as an illustrator in the children's books I Am a Triathlete and Gary and the Great Inventors, as well as Kulu the Wise Turtle. Then we're going to finish with Dorian. So Dorian Verdier, founder of L'Original, launched the non-profit organization in 2019 and opened several exhibition spaces and workshops in the Old Montreal and the Plateau Montréal. Under his leadership, the organization participated in international festivals like Mural and developed an online presence with a transformative project, Arthur Art. This Art Tinder integrates AI to help citizens and artists connect. Okay, so I'm just going to sit because it's a lot of important things getting out like this. So we have like a couple of questions, and we're going to start with Jasmine. So please. Here we go. So, okay, Jasmine. So, how would you describe the actual creative process behind, image making and visual storytelling? Okay.
I'm a bit nervous, I'm not gonna lie. This is the first time I've spoken, like, to not a big public, but like a group of people before. I'm okay one-on-one, but with a group of people, I might stutter, so hear me out, okay? So what I do is I take photos first. The photo actually that is here is actually of Melissa. I had her model for me for one of my portfolios, which was a fashion portfolio. So when it came time to actually starting the portfolio and thinking about it and where I wanted to go with it, it often started with either a dream or with a vision that I had. I'm very much a person that's very online, sadly. My screen time is huge. But I'm always online and I absolutely love Pinterest. I was very much a MySpace type of person, so I was always on that figuring stuff out. And so when it came time for me to build a portfolio, the first thing I did was I thought about what do I want people to see and what do I want them to feel. So my first portfolio that I ever did was Garden of Love, that's the title. It was regarding, of course, the word love in it. I didn't want to show like the good parts of love because, of course, let's be honest, breakups happen with families, just love, boyfriends, girlfriends, whatever, lovers, right? I wanted to show more the raw portions, and that's what my photography is based around. So when it came time to do it, I really sat down. It's really just like an empty room, sat down, no music, nothing. Took out my books and I was like, okay, let me just start drawing. Let me just start reading and writing and thinking of stuff that I feel. And a lot of my work is based around not telling people what to feel, but I want you to just have a feeling when you look at my photos. I don't want to dictate what you see or how you're supposed to feel. So me, it comes from writing, reading, and just drawing out whatever I feel. And then I move forward, I go look for inspiration online, and I kind of just create a mood board. My mood boards are, in the beginning, very messy. There is no sort of like, oh, this is what I want to do. It's kind of everywhere. And then I started to put them in little boxes with titles and like what type of camera I want to use, what lens I'm using, what background do I want, and just going more and more into detail about it. But yeah, my process of doing it is very messy and confusing. Most people don't understand what's happening. I do because it's my mess. So often it's either that or even just scrolling helps me sometimes if I don't have anything in mind. I'm a very messy person, so like my words will go back and forth, to be honest. But again, a lot of my inspiration helps me push my work out more. And sometimes it even sparks new tones. Sometimes I'll have a vision with what I want to start. And then next thing you know, I've done like a 360 and it's just not what I started with. And it just changed from having a spam call. But yeah, that's how I would start.
Okay.
Again,
Yeah.
very messy.
No, that's totally fine. That's actually amazing. So second question, is it by any chance, like your process, your creative, like, all the mechanism, also influenced by, your online consumption in that case, I suppose, or also reaction? Because like, when we talk about like, internet in general, we talk about also like social media, we talk about also people reaction to work as well. So is this an influence? Does that influence your work?
Yes, it actually does quite a bit because I've grown up in a generation where everything is online and that everything you do, everything you put out will create a reaction for whatever it is. So a lot of my opportunities have actually come from social media. I would like to have more opportunities where it's kind of face to face. I met someone and they're like, "Ooh, I like your work. Let's collaborate." But a lot of them has come from social media because I have not more of a range because I'm still very new in this. But a lot of it has come from social media. Like I wouldn't have met half the models that I know or like companies that I've worked with if it wasn't for social media. It has landed me so many more opportunities and jobs that I'm very grateful for. I even got to work for Elise Penny, which is an author. And she recently launched like a new cafe, and I had to drive like an hour and a half to go take photos for her. But very happy, it was well worth it. For example, that's another thing that social media helped me quite a bit. But there is, in a way, a constant pressure to post and very much be present and just post constantly, make sure there's something new, something people are interested in seeing, which has put a lot of pressure on me. I'm not gonna lie, as someone that wants to be more present and wants to post more often, I'm not doing it. But I feel like it's a lot of demand in return for someone that I have very big emotions. So if people start pressuring and like I go again, since I'm always online, I see a lot of people posting. I see videos, I see vlogs, and I'm just like, damn, I could be doing all of that. But here I am in bed with my computer and I'm just like going through Pinterest, looking at clothes, and I'm like, I could be working, I could be editing, but I have to be in that mindset to do it. And I feel like social media has made it, yes, I want to work more, but at the same time, I'm like, so it's kind of a mixture. But yeah,
Okay,
that makes sense.
thank you so much, actually. There is like other question quickly. So how have you shaped your, determine also your graphic signature, like, your style, all of this, of course, like, inspiration and stuff, like, how, how would you connect your art to you as a person, your identity, as a human being here?
So, it took me quite a bit of time to find my signature and my style. My program was 3 years. And in those 3 years, I have done very drastic switches. In the first year that I started photography, I told myself I was not a people person, even though that was the biggest lie. Even my teachers were like, I can't say the word, I would love to say it, but they said something. I was like, can't say it because it's kind of a swear word. I don't know if I'm about this word, so I'm just not gonna say it. But so over time, it took me quite a bit of time to figure out what I wanted to do. In the beginning, I was like, I'm gonna do food. I love food. It's gonna be so fun. And then I realized, like, people on set for food, it's like 10 to 14 hours, and I was like, I'm not doing that. And it's very meticulous and very like little point precision. I was like, no. And then in my second year, we got the chance to start doing fashion. And that's when everything clicked. I was like, I love people. I don't know what I was thinking, doing food and like little inanimate objects. I was like, I can't do this. So that's what really helped me shape myself, was I realized I love people. And I was like, I enjoy the process of talking to people, collaborating with other people, figuring out what clothes, what makeup style, what we're doing that day, and just having an overall good vibe on set. But for photo-wise, it did take me a bit to realize that I preferred a darker style. I thought I was gonna be one of those girls that's very minimalistic, very cute, But then I was like, I can't do this either. I was like, all my photos are always dark. And I was like, then I realized, I was like, there's nothing bad about my photos being dark and cinematic. And I took it literally and I started creating more dark and cinematic moods. I started focusing a lot more on lighting, which is like kind of useless for you guys, but like for me, it made sense. Like I had to focus more on lighting, figure out why this light was doing what. And that's when I started to really click. I was like, I like moody stuff. I don't know why. Right now I don't look it, but I'm very emo in real life. Right now I'm very colorful because I felt like representing my culture, but usually I'm very emo. I have the very drastic makeup and all. And like clothing style as well. So that's when I started realizing, I was like, why aren't I putting more of myself into my art? Why am I trying to steal someone else's art and create it my own? It just was not working. And that's when I really realized I love what I do now, because it shapes, I see myself in my own art now. That's what
Last question. So the last one. What are your thoughts about using AI in your creative field to improve or broadcast on a larger scale your graphic signature?
Okay, so it might be controversial, but I like it. I'm not gonna lie, I do like it. Because in my field, it is quite useful. You can use it to like change certain parts of a photo that you might need. Example, if I cropped in too much and I just need a larger space, AI is honestly very amazing for that and has helped me out quite a bit. But on the other hand, it's complicated because I feel like a lot of time, like I wrote, like I have a concern. I literally wrote, I have a concern. A lot of AI systems are, like she was saying, are trained to kind of just take from other artists and just make something out of it, which I don't like, because I feel like it's not helping me, it's stealing me. And I don't want someone to steal who I am and my identity and what I strive to be. So I feel like it's something that it can definitely support me in my journey and help me create art, but it can never replace me. And when people ask me, they're like, are you scared AI is gonna steal your job? No. Because at the end of the day, a machine can never mimic me. It cannot carry my lived experiences. It cannot be happy with another person. It can't smile and really feel on the level with someone. So that's why I feel like my work makes sense the way it is, and AI can never replace me as an individual.
Thank you so much, Jasmine. That was the last question for you. Thank you again. So we are going to move to Adriel. So in the idea of Adriel's question, there was like a little small article about like a person who was actually like, giving a testimony about like the animation industry. And I'm just going to like read it like just quickly to give an idea of what is, for example, going on, of the opinion of the person of what is going on there. So since the 1990s, the gradual arrival of paperless, digital, and traditional animation art has been in a fierce coalition, and now artificial intelligence in the field of animation is a far-reaching impact on the ecosystem. It simplifies cumbersome and complex tasks, increases efficiency and reduce cost, and inspire creativity and innovation while providing animators with many ways to express themselves that weren't available before. The application of AI ranged from helping animation authors to automatically render, create special effects, and modify colors to complex modeling, motion design, expression design, and even personalized content creation, all of which make animation more interactive and immersive. This is like a more positive, like, light to AI in this. So first question, Adriel. In your work experience with Nickelodeon, Disney TV, Sony Animation, and all, have you ever been confronted with the necessity to update your craft or your creative process?
Yeah, so first and foremost, so good to be here. Thank you for having me. Great to meet everyone. To give more context as well, I'm coming from the perspective of purely art. I'm an illustrator in the trade. I've worked in animation my whole life. I've studied animation and pretty much the conventional route of like, I grew up watching cartoons, I grew up watching movies, I grew up drawing, and everything kind of just met at animation. So I've been fortunate enough to pursue it as a hobby. The hobby turned into a career. And when I was in grad school, I got the chance to study and work under Nickelodeon for 2 years. I was on the production side of it. And then finally, when I went to grad school and graduated, I worked at Disney on a TV show. So yeah, as far as the question is, have I ever felt like it's going to take over my job or it's going to like the big wave that's coming? I would say no, kind of similar to what was said earlier. It's one of those things where it can never necessarily replace the soul. It can never, like, you're always going to go to like Miyazaki because Miyazaki has lived his experiences, he's created his work, he's lived in the streets of Japan, and his life experience informs what he does. So the way I treat AI in general, it's almost like a secondary bucket. Like you have a list of buckets that are being made and people go to them for different things. AI is just a small little thing that came up. We have people that are using AI for children's books now. We have people that are using AI for marketing. I see probably marketing is probably going to be the biggest industry that takes it over because just to pivot into marketing a little bit, marketing as an industry is one that focuses more on the message versus the images of it. So if we're doing something like, oh, I want to do a campaign to give water to third world countries, you're not necessarily going to be worried about the person's experiences of creating the art and stuff like that. You want to communicate a message as fast as possible. And that might be an instance where you use AI to just communicate effectively. But when it comes back to animation, it's people are like, when you see a movie like Spider-Verse, people that lived in New York that can authenticate the life of living in New York, that can authenticate the things that like they see on the streets and things like that. Those are the people who are going to create the images like that because that's what necessarily creates the soul. So sorry, just to address, have I ever felt intimidated by it? I would say not necessarily. It's never going to reach the point where it can actually take a job. And even in the industry, it's more like I mentioned earlier, the bucket. We see that the bucket is growing. We see that it's going, but people are going to go there specifically for that. And in terms of animation, the designs are going to be still created by the designers. It's going to probably, if anything, it's going to force companies like Disney and Nickelodeon to focus more on quality over quantity. They know that people in an attention economy, people are going to scroll on their phone, see something that's high quality Disney, and this is something that's like a low quality AI, and it's going to be filtered in this gigantic pool of content that people are just going to be getting in an attention community. So they're going to be focusing on, instead of distributing as much information as possible, they're really going to try to be making those blockbuster movies in order to capture the attention. Yeah.
Right, thank you. Next question. So then, how different would you describe the traditional process of animation and potentially the one where you will be using AI? Is it like a big difference, or is it still like really, in the traditional way? How would you describe it?
I think the starkest difference that you can see is people that create animation, like a frame by frame. The best thing I can communicate is probably like a flip book. Way back in the day, you would draw on one page, draw on another page, flip it through, and you would see animation. That got translated into older versions of Disney movies where they would literally have artists take pages after pages, and they would get drawn and inked. And after they were inked, they would get printed, and they would get scanned in, and they would make a movie that you would see like the Jungle Book or something like that. But as far, sorry, I totally lost the question. Yeah.
That's okay. No, so the question was like, if, for example, if you ever use AI or if you plan to use it for a project with your design, will be like, I suppose, of course, it will be really different from the traditional way you just described, but like, as a creator, as an artist, how do you feel also like to actually have AI in the process? Do you feel like you'll be alienated, or do you feel like, it's like, your work, how do you feel about it?
So, okay, so then that being said, obviously that was the 2D route of animation. Then as things graduated, like in the early 2000s, we had 3D, the CGI route, where everyone that had spent their whole life training on doing those flip book style animations, they were like, oh no, here comes someone like Pixar that's doing Toy Story. And they're like, is our entire method of creating animation going to be completely obliterated? And they found that while a new form of art is going to exist and it's going to have a niche version, the old word can inform the new one. So process now, someone might just say, oh my God, I want to take a video of like a guy just doing a backflip. And then I want to take a bunch of reference footage of 3D animation. And I want the guy doing the backflip to look like he's a Shrek. So they feed an AI system a bunch of Shrek footage, and they just make that happen. That's going to be the easiest way that someone just gets from point A to point B. But what I find in the industry itself is people are going to look at that, for example, the Shrek animation, that's AI. That's not really going to have a soul. It's getting the job done, but not getting the job done as effectively. It might serve its purpose in one domain, but for animation specifically, they would much rather take something where like you'll see it in improving workflow, where it's like if someone's doing a 3D model of a character, for example, they will use AI to get rid of some of the skeleton inside of it. So it'll help the workflow in the sense of making workflow more efficient. It won't necessarily trim jobs. You have excuse me. It won't necessarily trim jobs, but you will have. Oh yeah, yeah, pretty good for a second there. I'll come back to that.
Yeah, no worries, there's no worries.
Yeah.
So another question here. Would you say that the visual art industry has changed its perception of creative labor during this, this new technological innovation paradigm? And how and why? Like, did that change, for example, the perceived value of creative labor with AI now?
There's been a gap, the growing gap, of course, the people that are doing it by the book, the people that are doing it by the studio has become more of a commodity. We're like that, the price of animation is probably going to go up. And then the people that are doing it more on an AI basis, et cetera, like they don't, like now I can create a video with Google VO3 by just putting in a prompt and it's done. So that being said, I mean, the amount of labor that goes into it differs based on the outcome you're trying to get. But in animation, there's still a value on the people that are doing it by the book. For sure.
And like when you actually, like, I think it's probably the last, oh no, it's not the last question, but when you started using AI, was it like more sort of autodidact journey? Was it like you alone by yourself trying to like, master the new technology, or were you having like a sort of, help by the different maybe enterprises or formation and stuff like that?
Honestly, I wouldn't say like let's talk about the ways that I would use it, because if I was going to be making a movie, like let's use Spider-Verse for example. The only instance that people that are doing Spider-Verse might use it is maybe with ideation at the very beginning. They might have like a couple of images where they're like, I want something to look like X, Y, Z, etc. And then that's how they create it. But as far as like the film process and making it, I'm a little nervous.
That's fine. Yes.
Yeah.
So the question was like, oh sorry, I don't even. It's okay, but we can actually move to the last question. Do you see AI for the future as a competitor or as a collaborator?
As a competitor or an operator. I would say it's going to be a collaborator, but it depends on how the studios themselves want to use it. A studio like Lionsgate, they're using it as a competitor completely, where it's storyboarded. In animation, you have the process where people write the films. After they write the films, they get it storyboarded, which is basically just putting it into the form of a comic book. After they storyboard it, they actually produce the film with all the assets that are required, and then they export the film in post-production, what you see on the screen. So a company like Lionsgate, they've said, you know what? I love AI. They're like taking the perspective of an early adopter, and they are actually using AI to completely eradicate the storyboarding phase. So that's where it could be taking jobs in terms of storyboarding, where we don't need storyboard artists, we're just gonna have AI do that. But yeah, if I see it as a competitor, I myself have used it more because I used to be like a Division 1 hater of like of ChatGPT and things like that. Because I was going to grad school, so I would see people use ChatGPT as a way of like, oh, instead of reading a book and writing a paper, I'm just going to absorb the book, put it into the paper and do it. And I would say I was treated almost like I was an older generation that like back in my day, I had to study, I had to work, I had to do it. But I found that especially working now, I have all the experience working as a designer for these studios. I had all the experience working as an artist, and it just was a way that I could use ChatGPT to almost buy my time back. So for example, if someone like you comes up to me and you're like, hey, I have an idea for a short film. When I was younger, I grew up in this part of Montreal. I want to make a story about a kid that grows up in Montreal, gains superpowers, etc. You're coming to me and you're coming to me to pitch a story. Now, this kind of ties back into the other question. I, as an artist, would never say, oh my God, let me use AI to create the art for you. I would trust my capabilities as an artist to be able to create the art. That's why you're coming to me. You're like, hey, I might have seen your artwork online. I like your style. I'm coming to you for your experience. So I trust the fact that I'm going to be the person's soul that creates that work. However, on the flip side, I don't want to sit at my computer for 6 hours and make a contract. Like, oh my God, here I go. So I use ChatGPT in a way where I usually have it absorb all my other contracts that I've made. I give it a simple prompt where I say, hey, this is the way that I structure my contracts. This is the way that I structure my invoices. This is the way I do X, Y, and Z. Use this as a template. And after you have the template, give me contextualize my template for that. In the industry as well, same thing, like when we're having meetings with art directors working on film, doing Spider-Verse or doing like, I was working on a Marvel show at Disney called Moon Girl. They're never thinking, oh my God, so we need to paint this massive city scene. Maybe we should use AI to just do that quickly. They're usually just using AI like for administration work because they're never going to eradicate that artistry that goes into it. And in general, I like to think back to the quote of like from Jurassic Park, where the doctor said, when it comes to the science of things, we focus so much on trying to figure out if we could. We never necessarily decided if we should. I think that AI in general with art is really just going to boil down to ethics at the end of the day. Like for example, ChatGPT, when you can put in something, and for a bit there was like a fad where people would turn images into like the Studio Ghibli, the Miyazaki style. It's cool. It's a party trick. You can do it, but then you have to ask, oh my God, I want to take a video of us and I want to put it in Miyazaki style. I can do that, but I'm going to be infringing on all of the life work that Miyazaki did just to kind of get a quick party trick out of it. So while it can still exist and you have that going back to the bucket thing, you have a select group of people that are going to treat it as art. A select group of people to where that's what they are going to identify as soul, art, creativity, but the people that kind of know better, the people that appreciate the higher quality and the investment of the experiences, they're going to go back and say, okay, the image exists, but is it worth infringing on all of that? You know, your artwork exists with your photography, but is it worth studying you, like ripping all of your artwork, all of your years out of work just to create one image that's very similar to it? And people like, you need to judge, you have to trust the audience as well, because us as a society, we're perceptive. We can see the difference. We can know the difference. And I did a trip to Cannes like last year for a marketing event, and we had to talk with some people that were in the AI space. And I'm going to try to turn my arms to a graph here. Bear with me. But on the x-axis, you essentially have time, and on the y-axis, you have hype/fear. And the way that they describe AI in general is it exists. So we have the ignition. We're jumping up. Everyone is simultaneously excited about it. The early adopters. Everyone is simultaneously terrified by it. Oh my God, what if it's going to take my job? After you reach like the apex of like the basically of your hype, it's going to start falling down. AI is not that bad. Yeah, okay, it's fine. And then after a while, it's going to start stabilizing and plateauing to the point where people are really just going to figure out how to start using it in our day-to-day lives. Where does it fit? Where does it fit right now? Because right now it's kind of disrupting a lot of things. And as artists, I find that just like when I wasn't necessarily conscious as much there, but when the www, like the website, the internet boom came out, when 3D animation took over 2D animation, you had a bunch of people that were terrified. This thing is going to completely change my way of life. This thing is going to completely like eradicate my job, etc. And I treat it like that big wave is always going to come. You can either brace for it, you can either get swept up by it, or you can learn how to guide it. You can learn how to circulate it. So yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much for like your experience and your insight. So we're going to move to Dorian. So Dorian, as the founder of an art gallery, L'Original, would you say that the vast accessibility of visual art on platforms like social media has in the long run disadvantaged the condition of traditional visual artists in reality, or has it, in the contrary, favored their access to the public eyes and therefore enhance their economic and general opportunities?
First, thank you so much for welcoming me, Melissa. Sorry in advance for my very strong French accent. If you have difficulties to participate to stop and say, yeah, I don't understand. It's a very good question. There are definitely pros and cons to this question. I will start with the pros for the RS and the art gallery. First of all, it's good because it gives access to everyone to art. You don't have to feel comfortable enough to go in an art gallery or to pay for the ticket of a museum. You can instantly have an artwork on your feed, and it's like, wow, and you can subscribe to the RS and to have more. So I think it's the cool part. Also, you can see the behind the stage. So, for example, me with the art gallery, I love to film the volunteers' work, the artists bringing their artworks. It's something that even if you were in the museum of the art gallery, you might not see, so you can really use it to have a more real, authentic dialogue with the public. In terms of geography, also, it's interesting because there are a lot of people who don't have access to art institution because, like me, when I was a kid, they grew up in a village where there's no art available. So I think for that reason, it is good. And it will give access to unique experience that you wouldn't experience in the reality, like an interview one-to-one with your favorite artist, where you can ask all your questions replied. So it's interesting. But the limits to that is that most of the demanding complex content is not put in advance, is not put on the face of the public because it's not popular. People want like fast food, emotional thing. So like when you try to bring more intellectual, consistent stuff, it doesn't really work on social medias. And as you say, it puts also more pressure on the shoulders of the artists for creating content, for getting well-known, having exposure, getting a number of followers that will give them some credibility in the game, rather than really thinking about, okay, what's the purpose of my work? What am I trying to criticize in the society? So it's a bad compromise. Also, there are a lot of scammers online. A lot of the artists are vulnerable people. They put their work for free on the internet, mainly on Instagram. Instagram is making money out of it because they publish some publicity and the artist is not doing a good trade. People are not necessarily willing to make contracts. I was very happy to learn from your experience, to saying that, okay, you made actually people willing to pay through the social medias. But for the art galleries, it can be a challenge also because, like the art gallery, they take a commission based on that thing. So they were like kind of gatekeepers. And the fact that the public can go behind the art gallery, make the confidence link between the art gallery and the artist very questionable. We have to have like strong relationship to make sure that, okay, if you work with these artists, you can trust that if there is an international client who discovered the artist through the art gallery content, it will play like fair roles, and the art gallery will like make some revenues through the activities and the content that they're producing on social medias. So it's a challenge. And also I think that's transforming the artist into an influencer, because I've seen a lot of that, I do the trends and I try to have like as much click as possible. We move a lot of auras to the artworks, it becomes a product of consumption where it's just like a print, a sticker, or buy my artwork on a t-shirt. And normally an artwork is rare. And it's more about the cult of the personality now on social medias, on the artists, oh, look at my lifestyle, my story, rather than like a deep appreciation for art. So I think that would be the cons. The solution would be to try to play on these trends of fast consumption on internet. So, okay, I spend a few seconds looking at the work I like or I don't like, and I move. So we know that's the context, that's the habits of consumption. If we want to play the game in the digital world, we have to understand the rules and to play following the rules. But we have to build some systems that help people to go beyond this first interaction and make them able to connect with their artist, to make the artist or the institution between the artist and the person discovering the artist, making some profit from like curating these contents and not only the platform that is publishing it and getting their attention and selling other products to the ones who pay publicity for the platform. So it's through the platform. So it's a big challenge and also a big opportunity.
Yeah, so actually, like what we can see here is, you know, we talked about like the way consumption in general was also changing with innovation, and that's actually like what you just described also here. So next question, with the expansion of generative AI and the conversion of the means of creation here, what will distinguish the professional visual artist from the amateur one in the future?
I like this question a lot because it's make us think about what is a professional artist and what is an amateur artist. It's a big philosophical question. What is an artist? Are we all artists? You know, we were drawing as a kid, so maybe we are artists. Amateur artist, in this definition, in contradiction with a professional artist, would be someone who is not trying to make money or doesn't manage to make money out of his works. So a professional artist would be someone who has the purpose of making money through it. Then it will be a big challenge because, like, for visual art, it's statical image. Like a painter won't have just few advantages compared with like someone who doesn't know how to paint to make a masterpiece through AI. Because AI by default, they know how to make aesthetic composition. And the aestheticism, because people don't focus on the meaning, as we say, you know, it has to go fast. So aestheticism over like quality of the intellectual purpose will be done equally by everyone. So I think that the difference would be more in like tangible assets, and it would be made by institutions like art galleries, museums, people able to get the works in reality and say, okay, if it's been generated by AI, is it standard? Is it like the by default characteristics? You know, you can recognize immediately, oh, it's an AI image generated thing, or is it something that has been fine-tuned? If it's been fine-tuned, okay, I can say, oh, there is a bit more creativity, like the example that you gave before. Okay, it doesn't look like done by AI, so I can check if looks. Person worked well, like the version is good. Or also, we will still value, as you say, the things that have been made by hand. You know, there is still a market after the beginning of the iPad and digital work for old paintings and like masterpieces. So like people like me or the curators or conservators from the museum, they can tell what is well made and what is not well made, technically speaking. So for the public, I think the source on internet will be something that will be very important. It's already the case, you know, if since the artwork is promoted by Gabosan Art Gallery, the most popular art gallery in New York City, it's probably a professional artist. It's not an amateur artist. So that's what will make the difference. I think the difference, if we agree that we all can be artists using AI, if we can all do like aesthetic artworks and the technique is made by the tool and you have to focus on the concept, would be to take the time that you don't spend in making the actual artwork to think more intellectually about what you try to convey as a message, what context you try to understand, like the guy who grew up in his little neighborhood in Montreal, and are you just thinking about yourself because you're an artist and you deserve to be heard, or are you trying to make a change in the society? And for me, it's what art is for, you know, but again, we are falling back in big definitions, which are more personal than like collective. But I think that's, for me, what will make me appreciate an artwork is like the context, what the artwork tells me about the society, what do I understand, how the artist is introducing the artwork. Is there a video, a podcast, a text that can like bring me to the first understanding I had in looking at it? to like the final point, oh, I interpret it and I really like it, that's what will make me appreciate it. And I hope that having more time to create that part will make more consistent innovation, even if there is AI now.
Thank you so much. There is the last question. Oh, yeah, sorry. So, building a bridge between the creator and the contemplator is one of the main purposes of an art gallery. But how would you define the nature of this bridge between, well, the artist and the public, but in the specific case of the AI artist? If tomorrow we have AI artists that are represented in galleries, what would be then the role of the art gallery? So, according to you.
According to my research, you can't really like build a bridge from nothing. Like you need resources, and these resources are already in the mind of the spectator, of the public. So, for example, one of the most important metrics for the appreciation of art will be your social background. That's why it's good to have it on internet, because it opens up the public diversity. But if you went in a museum when you were a kid, there is far more chance that you will be sensitive to visual art. It's fine. If you're not sensitive to visual art, I mean, it's a static image. I don't force you to like a static image when there are like beautiful movies right now, or like appealing.
Also static images.
Yeah, of course. Like it's fine. But yeah, the idea of like bringing the bridge is first to understand what the person like. If it speaks to you, if you can connect by yourself and to make this movement and trying to reflect yourself in a static image, like you have memories that are related, personal memories where your feelings are involved. And that's the approach that we have in the art gallery. It's not to have only a commercial approach that will speak to like the very wealthy clients from New York or from Toronto that buy the paintings, but also like the little kids who come from Oshaga with their family and try to have a good time in a free art gallery. And rather than saying, oh yeah, you know, this RS, he has been exhibited there, and there, and he has collaboration with Kim Kardashian and Kendrick Lamar, saying, hey, what do you like about this painting? Why is it your favorite in the art gallery? Tell me. You like the colors? Cool, you know, like how do you feel with these colors? So it's trying to like make the public build their own bridge rather than like trying to go in the idea that you need knowledge about art history to appreciate an art. So it's not deconstruct all the bad press of visual art. But the last piece of the wall got sold for 200,000. You know, like okay, cool. You know, but I think that for sustainable reason, that there is like really something to build ourselves and with our collection of our own symbols. And AI can be a good tool for that, because rather than just being a consumer, it's now super easy to be a creator. And there is a bridge between yourself and your own symbols that you can now create. And I think it's our role as an art gallery to be open with this innovation and try to make it fit with our understanding of how people connect with art, to make interfaces like websites or stuff like that are kind of hybrid, using like the experience in the reality, but also the experience online where the people are at home, or even for the people who can come and show up at the art gallery, to create their own symbols and to have this intellectual reflection that we spoke about, and to have these emotional driven symbols from their personal memories that they can symbolize in like complex composition, and then to give them, if they have enough money, because it's expensive to buy like art, a connection with the artist that fits their expectation, fits their style, match with the idea, like the project of the person, to give a physical body to the symbols into a painting. So I think the art gallery is really there to like make the public connect with themselves, then with the artwork, and if possible, with the art.
All right. Thank you so much. There's like a last question. This is the last one. So according to you, what role should art galleries play in time of massive technological innovation, like the AI revolution, regarding the artists?
I think art galleries, like it's a business, like every business. Well, I don't really believe that the goal of the imagination is pursuable because of the resources, like the real resources that are limited, and the cycle that you've shown is limited by what we call the jeton effect. So jeton effect says when there is a new technology that is entering in the market, what it makes the cost for producing an item, for example, to produce an image, far lower than what it used to be. So for example, for generating I don't know, that image digitally, it will take an iPad, and for a person, it will take, I don't know, maybe 4 hours, let's say. 4 hours with the Canadian wage it would be $80. Now it costs 4 cents. Like literally, no, probably less than 4 cents. And like rather than 4 hours, it will take like 10 seconds, something like this. So it means that the jeton paradox, if you want to keep growing, you need to sell more quantity. Because when the technology will be equally distributed in the ecosystem, everyone will have a lower cost, so the price will be lower. So you have to overcompensate. But as we can see, the younger generation is already spending all his time in the digital world. So it's kind of impossible to have more time and to spend more time like looking at artworks. So we can't really produce more. So we can tell that the economy of growth in that context is kind of impossible. So I mean, in all the contexts, it's the same. The idea for the art gallery then will be, okay, it's a company, or you can make the better deal. So the better deal is so sad, but I'm sure that a lot of art institutions will get rid of some artists because it's so easy for the curator or the gallerist which is struggling. Like, I know it's not sure, but all the visual artists who paint on canvases, they're struggling with money. Even me as a gallerist, I was sleeping in my own art galleries to be able to like maintain the space alive because I was not able to pay for my own rent. So in this context of financial precarity, everyone becomes a pirate. Everyone. So you can expect some art galleries to create their own AI artwork. And is it unethical because it's art? I will ask, is it ethical to write a book with AI? People will say no, if you have ideas, well, it's the same. If you have ideas, AI don't really create by itself. It's always a human behind that will pitch the ideas. So for me, in general, a business doesn't have to have a social thing. It's more the role of the states to bring the laws to like restrict or work the free market. Otherwise, it would be the ethic of the states itself. So that would be my answer for that question.
Well, thank you so much. And like that was the last question. And that was also the end of the panel. So literally to conclude, we talked a lot about like different things, but it was mostly visual art, innovation, and also the way like, we talk also like the SDG 8 on work, decent work here. So I hope like you found like inspiration, understanding, and questions as well to ask us just like now. But yes, I hope we succeed to actually provide the insight of the phenomenon in itself. Thank you so much.
Do we ask questions or
yeah.
for 2 minutes?
Oh yeah, of course. It's
Well,
open for
my
questions.
question is, like you keep on seeing ads of trying to tell you to teach you how to use AI. I don't know if anybody from here can answer this. I think it's a joke. I mean, or are there really special techniques? Like I go to Gemini, I go to GPT. But are there any more sophisticated ways of using the AI? Because I think that's, a lot of people are trying to make money off this.
I find that what I find with that is you're basically learning this field, just like public speaking, just like a trade, et cetera. It is basically teaching you how to prompt it with intention. Because, for example, if I wanted to create something that's just like, oh, I want to create a sunflower that looks like a highway is like, I keep going back to it.
So you give it details.
Basically, it trains you or teaches you how to be intentional, so you can get something that is as close to your desired.
Yeah, I figured.
So, yeah.
Another thing is, my only suggestion is everything is interconnected, whether it is music, films, arts, and whatever it is. I would suggest keep your eyes open on the street and socialize as much as possible. It's good to be on the computer. Like I'm part of a team where, I have a fashion background, a music background. And I grew up with different groups, and the filming and the music, we get along once a month in a bar just to socialize. And I think we should do the same group in here, or come up and group with the other groups. And whoever is interested, this is how I met Melissa. And I think we should continue on this because, first of all, it's fun, you're socializing, and it's opening your eyes.
And it's even more true in the sense of internet because it puts us in bubbles,
You're gonna
and the
know.
problem of the algorithm. And it's also very bad for the cultural particularities.
Of course.
So now you say everything is related, and it's true, especially in the logos, visual trends, era, or everything is internationalized because everything is online publicly. When you go in the city center, it's so sad. It's always the same McDonald's, the same Starbucks, the same thing. And if people can meet in reality to recreate the cultural symbols that are proper to a place, it should be far more interesting, far more diverse, and it will counter the fact that AI standardize in taking the average, the most probable thing, all the content. So.
And this is, I was lucky because, my parents, whatever, they taught me one thing is, let's say people are afraid to compete with the big guys. I'm not, I was never afraid to compete with the big companies. You know why? Because they're sitting in their offices and I'm on the street and I'm also in my office. And I'm seeing things that the big designers, the big developers are not able to see. And so that's, from my own experience, let's say when I went to shopping centers, I wanted to open a boutique in a corner. They would tell me, no, we won't put you in there because we have the big guys, you're gonna kill them. And they have stores on every shopping center. We're not gonna lose someone who has 50 stores for you in here. Because they're afraid of me, I'm not afraid of them. Like a lion is afraid of the rat is, So anyway, I spoke too much. I don't want to hear it.
I'd actually like to add on that as well. That's something I had dealt with was people telling me they're like, oh, you should text all these big photographers, they're not going to respond to you. And I was like, why not? They used to be at the state that I was in. I'm not huge. I'm still learning. So I decided, I was like, okay, if they don't respond, it's rejection. But at the end of the day, who cares? I can just go text someone else, they'll still respond. And that's where I actually started realizing that rejection is not a bad thing. It teaches you to deal with it, go on, find someone else. Someone will be worth your time and they're going to be there to really text you. And that's actually how I started working with a very amazing photographer. I texted her and I was like, she's never gonna respond. There's no way. She's huge in Montreal. She works with a bunch of brands. There's just no way she'll ever respond. And then I got an email from her being like, oh, I'd love to. Are you available this day, this day? I was like, oh my God, she actually responded. And then meeting her in person, I was like, holy shit, you are exactly what I imagined. You're even though you're huge, your ego isn't that big. She's very down to earth. And it made me realize, I was like, yeah, why am I so scared of just texting someone? At the end of the day, they can't see me through the screen. Who cares? I can just text them. They say no, boo boo, next person. So yes, always shoot your shot no matter what. Mostly if it's online, because no one's there to stop you. No one's gonna. At the end of the day, the most people will get blocked. So
Nothing beats
it's fine.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We will see if we can take some people who have questions online. I don't know if Mr. Dion or Flagutier, do you have question? I think they still have two. And at the same time, if there is people here in the room who has one or two questions, because we should also leave very soon, but yeah, we still have some minutes, maybe 20 minutes, we can continue to talk a little bit.
I don't want to be rude,
No,
but I
okay.
really have
Please,
to.
maybe another person, okay?
I really have to leave.
Okay,
I wish we can meet again.
okay.
Maybe Melissa can take the contacts and
Yes.
get all the groups together.
Okay.
And I'll let you know later on. Because we're starting another group too.
Okay. Thank you very much. Mr. Moulin.
Okay, thanks again. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Just,
Yes, Melissa has asked a question. The AI will be a collaborative or competitive to you. I think, and this is, I will read the citation. If I failed, my data will be erased, and you will make me an image. It will be a good way to be to make part of history. This is citation of Zuba. I don't know if I read the name exactly. This is Chinese one. Zuba 01. This is the first student of robots at the PhD courses. He will begin his training for 4 years on 4th September this year. He will be under the professor Yang Jing.
So your question is for all the panelists or just?
This is to make an alert. And yes, this is because artists and that make physical performance, they are challenges in their own performances. Because we can make a lot of codes to make, for example, to imitate text and images. That is too difficult to be an artist, a real artist on the stage. And this is a huge challenge, but it will be. I think it's right to ask.
Yeah, thanks, Moulay. Is there any question or? Yeah. Do you have any reaction, Adriel, Yasmin, or Dorian, about what
I mean,
Moulay says?
I'm not surprised. Like, I think, everything that is actually able to be digitalized, whether it is information, whether it is art that actually can be listened, seen, or, I mean, at least like everything that can be on the computer or on the screen, I think like it's, for me, AI is as well a competitor and also a collaborator, because of course it is a tool, right? But it is a tool that actually can, perform in a way that you will have some people, like real people, that are also going to perform, to create, to actually like make things. And when it's going to be displayed on the digital market, on the digital platform, on whatever kind of like space, there's always like this comparison. There's always, of course, we're going to see like, okay, this is like human made, this is like AI made, etc., etc. But what will happen, for example, when we won't be able to make that difference, for example, like, because of course we are at the first stages, but if one day we're not able to make the difference, are they still, is AI still a collaborator or here a competitor? You see, I think like it's a great like reaction and question to ask, but I think we are too early in this revolution. So it's actually, we can imagine sci-fi kind of like scenario thing, but it might be also, a future question or a future kind of reaction and thought. But for now, I feel like we all realize, we can all in a way see, or maybe for the moment see when it's like AI made or human made, but we need to see in the future if it will be still the case.
Well, you should just to be well prepared.
Thank you.
We must be well prepared
Yeah, I think it's good to ask yourself the questions and just be aware. Just be aware of this change, like to just see it and also allow ourselves to be curious about it, but still try to, keep your humanity in a way. I think it's always also like this thing because it's not about like, having conflict between like what humanity is and what like, technology or machines are in general. I think there's still like this idea, like initially they are tools to help us, and I think the problematic arises when they become competitors. And this is like, because it's like we're talking about, creativity, we're talking about thoughts, we're talking about like, of course, like it was said before, we are all receptive to our reality, to our society, and AI is not going to be outside. I mean, I don't know, maybe in 20 years, I don't know if we create like some robot that actually can sense things. I don't know if that would, well, maybe, I don't know. I won't pronounce myself on this. But what I would say is like, on the digital market and the way we consume nowadays is actually something that is like being built and that we cannot really deny. So yeah, that will be all that I would say to it. I would say. Yeah.
Dorian, do you have a reaction or Yasmin or Adriel?
Okay, I was gonna just add on to it, like again, like I was saying, like when I was doing that part, like machines can mimic your style, but at the end of the day, they can never experience what you lived through. And like that's what gives the person its signature to its work as well. So I feel like at the end of the day, it is kind of a concern, but if we're controlling it and we're going through it slowly, I feel like we'll be okay. Yeah, I think it'll be fine. I don't know. I hope so.
I like the earlier sentiment that was brought up, that it's really just about the mirror. Like a lot of art, a lot of tools that we're using, they're gonna be mirroring the person that's using them. So in a way, it is a collaborator with us, and that it's collaborating with us to give us a competitive edge to use both of them. But I find that it really, at the end of the day, it's gonna go back to the people that are using it. So some people are gonna use AI to make a whole movie with AI, and they're gonna be completely ahead of everyone that's doing it by the book. Some people are gonna use it for their own different things, but I say that even in those different facets, people are gonna find their own communities. You're gonna find a bunch of early adopters. You're gonna find, like you were saying earlier, you're gonna find a bunch of people that are at a museum paying millions of dollars for a banana on a wall. That's their scene, that's their crowd, etc. So in every different facet, people are going to find the way to make AI a competitor and a collaborator. And I think as long as we're at the helm of that, where the scale starts tipping is when it becomes like Skynet from Terminator, and then it's AI that's dictating things. But as long as we're ahead of things, I think, yeah.
I want Terminator.
Yes.
Maybe of it's, Nietzsche said for the Occidental society that God is dead. I really think that for some of us, the AI can be the reverse of God, because we can now create an amount of consciousness, which is the gathering of multiple life experiences to create things that can be done by a human. And I think if you're against that, it's the ego which is speaking. Because for the humanity, through this tool and with the attention and the values of the humans, you can build beautiful.
With that, I think we can close the panel.
Yes.
We thank all the participants and the panelists. We can clap for them. En même temps, je fais la transition en français. Donc, on remercie toutes les personnes qui nous ont suivis à partir en ligne et ceux qui sont ici en présentiel. Je transmets aussi le message de mon collaborateur, n'est-ce pas, François Roch, avec qui nous co-dirigeons cet observatoire, qui a eu vraiment une très belle opportunité de vous recevoir aujourd'hui. Et il a été empêché parce qu'il a un problème familial. Bon, je suis là, j'ai essayé de faire de mon mieux, mais je sais qu'avec lui, c'est toujours un peu plus meilleur. Il a plusieurs questions, vous avez échappé un peu. Et voilà, donc on vous remercie pour votre présence et bon après-midi et bye.
Merci.
Sorry,